and welcome back to another podcast episode with Brittney Bundles. You are listening to the Brittney Bundles podcast, where we empower people through entrepreneurship. With that being said, I do want to invite anyone listening to this podcast that owns a business or knows someone that owns a business or an organization that has information to share about their journey, about their obstacles that they've overcome, all with the purpose of inspiring and empowering other people. We invite you to this podcast. For more information, please email Btalks, Btalks @yahoo.com. Without further ado, today we're going to get into the topic, which is pointless or purposeful time investments in business. Pointless or purposeful time investments in business. Now, this is a question that I want all of you to ask yourselves. This is a question that I ask myself daily. I have to know if what I'm doing for my business has purpose or if it's pointless. There are many things that we have done in life, I'm sure many can relate to this, that seems as though it was a waste of time and that we got nothing out of it. Although there is a lesson in everything that we do if we look close enough, there are still some things that don't deserve our time. There are still some things that we should not be doing in order to fulfill the purpose that's designed for our life, in order to reach the goals that we have created for ourselves. There are just some things that are pointless. There are some things that don't yield the results that we're hoping to receive. And without identifying which option, which action, which thoughts are pointless or purposeful, a lot of times we'll feel like we're running on a goose chase. We'll feel like we're being run in circles. We'll feel like we're really not doing anything. We're doing a lot of moving, but really no progression, no productivity, nothing to show for it. And so one thing that has really helped me identify what's purposeful in my life and what I need to do in order for my business to grow as it should, I have to align my thinking process. I have to go back inside of myself and figure out what I need to do to make sure that I'm sticking on the right plan according to the goals that I have created for myself, according to the purpose that's designed for my life and that was created for my life. There's a lot of things you can find yourself doing, a lot of different invites, a lot of different opportunities, but not everything that presents itself is going to be purposeful. There are some opportunities that will be pointless for you in the area that you're currently in for the goals and the purpose that is set forth for your life. So yes, we're always looking for different opportunities, but no, every opportunity is not going to be purposeful for you. And so without identifying what your real plan is, without identifying who you are, without identifying where you're going, it's very challenging to understand and be able to see the difference between pointless business investments and purposeful. But it's very crucial in order to move forward towards one's success. So that's what we're talking about today. Are you making pointless or purposeful time investments in your business? What have you done today that is actually going to move you closer to your goal? Or are we constantly, consistently, and comfortably okay with the idea of just having ideas and not putting anything into motion? How comfortable have you gotten with just having an idea? How comfortable have we gotten with the life structure that we already have? And again, let's not confuse being comfortable with not being grateful. Yes, we're grateful. But what are we doing to move forward? What are we doing to push past obstacles that are currently in our life? What are we doing to expand our business? What are we doing to empower others? What are we doing to get closer to the calling that God has called for all of us? What are we doing to make sure that everything that we do has an impactful result behind it? Now, although we may try, there are going to be some times that no matter what path you're on, what you're doing, how you're thinking, there are going to be times when you find yourself possibly disappointed by the outcomes in your life. But I can let you know that the disappointment sensed differently when you invested in something that was purposeful and has the potential to yield fruit versus you investing in something that's pointless, that cannot bear any fruit, that has no future for you in that activity or in that opportunity. Let's go ahead and get further into this topic today. Get ready, grab a friend, let them know that the Brittney Bundles podcast is on, and we're going to get started in just a moment. All right. So we're talking about pointless or purposeful time investments in business. And when I was sitting down thinking about what I wanted to talk about for this podcast, this popped in my mind. And it's because so often in business, you hear about taking advantage of all opportunities. I even talk about taking advantage of opportunities. And taking advantage of opportunities is very crucial. It's very crucial. It's very important. And it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs have to work at. Because a lot of times we don't see the opportunities that presents itself. We don't see the opportunities of things that can possibly increase, improve, and grow our business. We don't see it. Sometimes we're so closed-minded to our normal flow, to the same people that we are used to interacting with, that we close our mind and we close the idea and we close the vision and we close the path and we close pretty much opportunities to work with other people and to expand our business. Sometimes we close them knowingly, and sometimes we close them without having any idea that that's actually what we're doing. So to put it into perspective, one thing that I've done for myself is I've decided to make sure that everything I'm doing is intentional. And in order for me to do that, because it is easier said than done, I have to have this bucket. So I have these two imaginary buckets. I said bucket, but I should have said buckets. And I titled them in my mind. Okay, this is my pointless bucket and this is my purposeful bucket. And everything that I'm doing in relation to my business has to go into one or the two. It just has to. So now when I'm getting opportunities, now when I'm presented with different options for my business, now when I'm looking at which path should I take, I now can have a guide that's clear and it says, okay, Brittney, you tell me what this option is going to do for you. And although I may not know off the bat what my option or what my action is going to yield immediately, because I'm not a future reader, I don't know what's going to happen next year with my business. All I can do is do the right behaviors and set the right foundation so that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Setting yourself up to be okay, regardless of if you have a good month, a good year, or a good season, is all a part of being financially stable. It's all a part of being aware with your business. It's all a part of being conscious of how you are structuring your life. So it can happen. But what helps me is figuring out, Brittney, is this pointless or is this purposeful? There are some things in business that are pointless for your journey. There are some people that are hung up on constantly revisiting the same thought. And that's all they do. They've had the same thought for 5, 10, 15 years that initially went into the purposeful time investment box that now can be removed to the pointless business box. And why do I say that? Not because their idea is pointless, not because that idea has no value in it anymore, not because their time has passed, but it may be put into that pointless box if you don't decide to do something purposeful with it. So not everything that starts in that purposeful box will remain purposeful if we keep it in that box with no intention. And even if we have the intention, with no real action going along with that thought, with that plan, or with that opportunity. So I want to ask someone out there, how many times will you revisit your list or your business plan with no action? And then you decide and you tell me, or you tell yourself better yet, if this idea should go into your purposeful or pointless box. What is this yielding in your life? What is this going to do? The idea can be a phenomenal idea. And although we all have different ways of prioritizing our life, so this message is not to discourage anyone. It's not to say that your idea isn't a good idea. It's not to say that I lack empathy in your situation, because I've made different episodes on this channel saying that not everyone is able to move forward with their goals at the same time. Not everyone's right now is at the same time. I completely understand that. But I also understand that without action, a lot of visions fail. A lot of business ideas did not start. A lot of business ideas stopped. A lot of businesses did not grow to their full potential. And a lot of businesses not growing to their full potential had a direct impact on the others' lives associated with it. Whether it be the employees that worked for that business, whether it be the investors in that business, whether it be the business partners in that business, whether it be the customers, the clients, the students of that business. And so just because you put something into your purposeful box for your business investments does not mean that it's going to remain purposeful if we decide to constantly keep revisiting that idea with no commitment to action. So what are we going to do? You've thought about your business plan for 15 years. You understand what it takes to get this business plan rolling, but for some reason we haven't done it. We have to identify everything in our life, break it down. I've been breaking down everything lately. I've been looking at different relationships in my life and I've been breaking them down. I want to understand why this certain thing keeps happening, why this doesn't happen. What are the common patterns that I see from myself in different relationships, friendships, family ships? You know what I mean? You want to understand the why behind it. Because when you understand the why, then you can create a solution to move forward. It's not going to do me any good constantly revisiting the same scenario without a call to action. Well, we get the problem. We get your concern. We get the uncertainties, but what's our call to action? How long are we going to revisit the list that we've created 5 years ago before we actually start on the list? How long are we going to sit and talk about what we want to do before we actually begin to do it? And everyone's answer is going to be different. I respect and understand that. But we have to decide, is this a pointless or purposeful time investment? It begins to be pointless for me to sit on the phone and constantly talk about the same issue with no call to action. We get the problem. Okay, Brittney, you want to fit into these pants and you can't. I get it. You've talked about it for 5 years. We get it. I get the problem. So it begins to be pointless to constantly talk about it with no call to action. Unless I'm just talking to vent, which I mean, venting can be purposeful. But if we're looking at moving forward and creating progress, now that we realize what the issue, we've identified what my problem is. So my problem is I can't fit into these pants. What's my solution going to be? So either I'm going to get some new pants or either I'm going to lose weight or gain it, depending on how you look at it. When I was younger, I had problems gaining weight. Now I'm older, I have problems losing it. So it just depends. But I have to decide why I'm going to, or when I'm going to move forward, and when I'm going to take all of my pointless investments and turn them into something purposeful. The next thing that I want to talk about is what call of action will you create to assist you in moving forward? So like we just said, what's your call of action? I don't need to constantly hear about the same idea with no plans. You don't need to constantly look at the same idea with no plans. We get the idea. We respect the vision. We are craving the business. When are we going to start? Now, again, your start date doesn't have to be today, but your call of action plan can start today. So that looks like creating and jotting down understanding, thinking through how I'm going to put this idea, how I'm going to put this list, how I'm going to put this vision into action. I've been waiting for it to just sprout up. I've been going outside every day in my backyard, as an example, looking for this apple tree to grow. But I know good and well, I've never planted a seed for an apple or an apple tree. And I know good and well that there's no apple trees that have ever grown in my backyard. So no matter how many stories I read about apple trees growing, no matter how many movies I watch about it, no matter how much I even talk about apple trees growing, I haven't started that call of action to actually bring forth an apple tree in my backyard. So what is your call of action going to be? And business owners that have been in business for years, this is not our opportunity to just skate by. Well, we got our business going, so that was our call of action. No, I hold myself accountable just like I hold everyone else accountable that I work with. Why? Because I want us all to succeed. I want us all to experience the best that we possibly can. And that takes work. So being in business for years, I'm not exempt. I still have to strategically calculate what I'm doing in business, how long I'm staying on a certain idea, what I'm entertaining, who I decide to collaborate with, who I decide to not work with, what opportunities I decide to take, and what opportunities I decide are not for me. So we still have a responsibility, no matter if we have not started our business, no matter if we have started our business, to figure out what call of action we are going to create to bring our business to the next level. And yes, I said bring it to the next level because that's something that we have to physically, emotionally, mentally do. You have to bring your business to the next level. It's easy for a business to fall off. But I can tell you that it's harder for a business to just fall up. And even with God working on our side, we still need to do some work towards the vision and use the gifts that God blessed us with. Now, if that means that you have to ask God and seek clarity, God, please show me. How can I use the gifts that you created in me for this? God, please show me. How can I start this idea that I've been revisiting for years? It's okay to ask for help. But we have to put that into our call of action. My call of action is asking God, where do I start? Because I don't know where. But constantly revisiting something without a plan. Constantly revisiting something without moving forward. Constantly revisiting something just for the sake of talking about it begins to be pointless if there's no call of action. If there's no value, if there's no seeds that are going to be planted with this idea, if there's no seeds that are being planted with this opportunity, someone can give you opportunities all day long, but it's up to you how you're going to plant those seeds and strategically align those seeds to move you forward in business. You can come on the podcast, but it's up to you. I'll do my part. And I'll promote it on my platforms and I'll make sure that the interview runs great. However, there are still things that you have to do to ensure that you're getting the best value. And those things may look like promoting the podcast episode on your social media. It may look like putting the podcast on your website. It may look like telling your friends and family and your customers to tune in to learn more about the services and products that you offer. Also, by tuning in, they may get an exclusive discount. So there's a part and opportunity that can definitely, in a lot of opportunities, I don't want to say all, but in a lot of opportunities, there's a point in the opportunity. There's a place in the opportunity that has the potential to really grow and flourish into something that can move your business forward. But you have to be willing and able to move your business forward. And you have to ask yourself along the way, what I'm doing right now, is this going to be a purposeful time investment or pointless? Now, the third thing I want to talk about is, are you maximizing opportunities? We just touched on that. Are you maximizing opportunities? There's only so much that an opportunity will bring you. without you doing footwork with the opportunity as well. There's only so much that an idea will get you. There's only so much that business funding will get you. I had to ask myself, is this where I want to be? Is this where I'm going? Is this going to be purposeful for my journey? And that's what we have to ask ourselves. What you're doing right now, not is it just purposeful, but is it purposeful for your journey? And are you maximizing the opportunity for your journey? And see, you have to decide what's pointless for you or not. Your mom can't decide what's pointless for you. I mean, legally, until you're 18, you get what I mean. But your grandma can't decide what's pointless for you. My kids can't tell me what they feel is going to be, or they can tell me what they feel, but ultimately they can't tell me what's going to be pointless for my business. I ultimately have to decide. And deciding, sometimes that means that you have to go ahead and start your call of action, not knowing how it's going to go. I don't know, but I know the longer you wait to get started with that call of action, the longer you have to learn the lesson that was behind that call of action, and the longer that you have to decide if what you are doing is purposeful in the long term or pointless. There are some things that you are not going to understand. There are some things that you are not going to experience. There are some things that you cannot relate to until you actually get started. I would have people all day telling me, if I was in your position, I would do this. I would do that. I would do that. But we all know that it's easier to say something than it is to do it. But getting started allows you the vision to see more clearly. It allows you not only to have the vision, but to actually get behind the driver's seat and figure out if that's the car that you want to pull off the lot with. And not only seeing if that's the car you want to pull off with, it gives you the ability to maximize your opportunities. So although the salon was a very crucial part of my story, it was a very crucial part of my journey. Although I didn't find continued purpose and fulfillment in that salon, I was able to maximize opportunities by sitting back and doing the same thing, figuring out what is going to be pointless and what's purposeful. And I decided it's pointless to continue to do something that I'm not happy with. It's pointless for me to continue to do something that I'm not going to put my all into. It's pointless for me to continue to put a smile on my face when I know on the inside, I'm not smiling at all. I know that this is taking away time from my other visions. This is taking away time from ultimately what I want to do. And so I was able to maximize my opportunity. I was able to turn that experience. I was able to decide what I wanted to do, clearly identify what's pointless and what's purposeful, and continue on my purpose-filled journey by doing things that align with my overall goal. So are you maximizing the opportunities, or are you coasting? Are you maximizing the opportunities, or are you comfortable? Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is, are we planting seeds or watering them? Now, those are the two questions that we also want to ask ourselves. Am I planting my seeds or am I watering them? So in other words, am I creating an idea or am I nurturing and watering an idea that I've already created? Am I putting together a plan of action, a call of action for the plan that I have just thought of, or for the plan that I've already thought of, that I've got in motion already? So planting or watering them. Try to do one or the other. And if it's not planting or watering, then it may go into that pointless box. I've decided to set aside a certain amount of time for my business, and I find myself not taking advantage of that time, for example. If I find myself doing that, if I find myself watching TV instead of doing what I needed to do for my business, if I find myself on the phone instead of, and it's not a business call, instead of doing what I'm supposed to be doing, if I find myself sleeping past the time that I have designated for my business, I have to ask myself, was that pointless for my business or was that purposeful? And although we all love sleep, there's a time and place for everything. And so we don't want to neglect ourselves or deprive ourselves from sleep. We don't want to neglect ourselves or deprive ourselves from having strong, healthy friendships and relationships. However, we also don't want to neglect ourselves and deprive ourselves from having strong, successful businesses. This business is bigger than you. This idea has the potential to impact many others' lives. So when you look at it in that aspect, you have work to do. I have work to do. We have work to do. And so I ask myself, and I ask the people that I'm working with, what are we doing today? Who are we working with today? What ideas and what opportunities are we accepting or declining today? Because I want to make sure that we're always planting or watering seeds. And if we're not doing either one, then we have to think about it. Are we doing things that are pointless in the bigger picture? Are we doing things that are pointless in comparison to the progress that we have set forth, the progress that we have hoped for, the progress that we have prayed for our business ventures? Now, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is, are you a secret naysayer to yourself? That's what I'm asking. Are you a secret naysayer? Because a lot of times the reason that we don't continue on, or the reason that we stop watering and planting seeds, is because we're our own worst enemy. We're constantly telling ourselves things that we can't do. It's not even anyone else. It's us. We're the ones explaining to ourselves why it won't work. We're the ones telling our thoughts that we're stupid. We're the ones not valuing the gifts that God placed inside of us. We are. Are you doubting your plan before it even gets an opportunity to actually happen? Are you the one that's stopping your ideas from coming off of that list into actual reality? Are you the one that has put doubt in your heart and in your mind? Are you the one that has frightened yourself from moving forward? Because fear is not of God. And once we understand that, I have to go and ask God, if I find myself doubting myself too much, if I find myself being too fearful of success, if I find myself being too fearful of failure. There's people that feel both ways. There are people that are scared of success, and there's people that are scared of failure. But either way, don't feel afraid. Don't be too cocky. Don't be too confident to ask God to help, to ask God for his guidance. I'm human. Not everything that I've decided to do was I completely confident in. But when I find myself thinking thoughts that are contradictory to what I need to do, when I find myself having thoughts that are down on me, when I find myself having thoughts of, this is what you cannot accomplish, Lord, please fix my thoughts. Please get me in line. Please check my attitude. Please help my vision and my perception on things to change. Lord, please guide me. Because I know all things work for good for those that love the Lord. So even if I don't get what I intended on getting out of this opportunity, I know it's going to work out good. I don't know how, but I know it's going to work out good. And so are you a secret naysayer to yourself? And if you are, let's create that call of action today as to what we're going to do the next time that we find ourselves doubting our dreams, the next time we find ourselves beating up on our ambitions, the next time we find ourselves trying to shrink ourselves down to please other people, or to please ourselves because we find more comfort in not being our best. Whatever the case may be, you know who to call on. We know who to call on. So I really hope that you all took something from this message. Ultimately, I want us all to be our best. I respect everyone in their business journey. And I also understand that a huge struggle with businesses is deciding if what they're doing is pointless or purposeful. Deciding which opportunities to take and which ones to not. Deciding how to organize and structure their day. Because I'm a business owner and I've dealt with a lot of the things that I'm talking about in this podcast. And what has helped me is deciding if my actions are pointless or purposeful, and asking myself and being honest with myself and deciding what I'm going to do to continue to move forward and grow my business to its best potential. As always, I don't want the conversation to end. If you have any input, or if you'd like to be a guest or have your business featured, having your business featured allows me to share information to our listeners regarding your business, promotions, services, and or products. This is an opportunity where you don't actually have to speak. We also can feature you if you would like to come and speak about your business on the podcast. Either way, feel free to reach out to me. The email address is Btalks, that's BTALKS @yahoo.com. I'm on YouTube at Brittney Bundles. That's Brittney, BRITTNEY, Bundles, BUNDLES. I'm on Instagram, Brittney_Bundles, Facebook, Brittney Bundles, Twitter, Brittney Bundles. And until next time, I'll see you on the next podcast episode.